relationship-based fundraising. I'm Bill Stanczykiewicz. This is the first day from the fundraising school, and I'm joined today by Angelica Suarez. Angelica is an advisor to Resilia, which boosts the capacity of nonprofit organizations. And through that work, Angelica has joined our faculty at the fundraising school. Angelica, so glad to have you with us on the Fundraising Schools podcast.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to talk to you today.
Relationship-based fundraising in higher education. We'd love definitions. What is relationship-based fundraising?
So relationship-based fundraising is all about creating long-term connections with our donors. It's that opportunity to lift a transactional relationship into a transformational relationship where together the donor and the nonprofit organization join forces to say, let's make an impact together. So yeah, long-term relationships.
Relationships, long-term. What has caused you to put emphasis on this topic? Are you not seeing this frequently enough as you work with nonprofit organizations? Are you seeing the nonprofits that do this well? Why has this become a point of emphasis for you as you're helping boost the capacity of nonprofit organizations?
Yes. So, Bill, I am super passionate about human connection. And I do feel that to some extent, due to the amount of distractions that we have in this world, the busyness of our agendas, we have somehow disconnected from the importance of being connected, but really connected. And by that is really get to know you, really knowing you. And so what I have learned a lot in my field as a coach is that nonprofits sometimes, and I also say it from a place where I have worked as a nonprofit executive director in different organizations with different roles for the past 2 decades, where I just needed to get things done. There were too many fires going on. There were too many things to do. And so when it came to really put time into building a relationship, that I always left it, unfortunately, and again, I learned from this mistakes, I left it as the last thing to do. Okay, later on I will connect with the donor. Later on I will say thank you. Later on I will sit down and listen to them. And so seeing it from myself, me being the first one to make that mistake and then talking to hundreds or thousands of nonprofits that I get the opportunity to coach through Resilia, I'm seeing it over and over and over. I don't have time. It's okay if I do an automatic email. It's okay if they just get a thank you note through the system that we utilize. And then the more I see that, the more I'm saying, oh my God, there's a disconnect again. And this disconnect not only will lead into a separation, but even a worse impact will be that the nonprofits are not going to be able to get the support to the cause that they're working so hard for it. So that's what leads my passion for this topic, a desire for us as humans to reconnect and to reconnect for things that truly matter, which is making an impact for the nonprofits.
And fundraisers, as you described, have just so much on their plate, need to move on to the next task, the next responsibility, the next prospective donor. How do you help fundraisers with this journey? It'd be very easy to think about the before and the after. But there needs to be some starting point. You know, they feel they've had this avalanche fall on them. They start crawling up to the tide. Just when they're about to get to the surface, another avalanche falls on top of them. What are some of those initial steps to move towards more transformational relationship-based fundraising?
Yes. Well, Bill, there's a few things. So I'm going to start with one that I believe is very vulnerable for us as the fundraisers. So the first one is knowing ourselves and how we deal with relationships. Every time we jump into a new relationship, there's so much history, of who we were, how we were raised, where do we come from, our parents, the relationship, all of those things. And we bring that many times to the relationship. And there's what I have learned a lot with fundraisers is that there's a fear to connect with donors because of the fear of rejection or whatever is the past that we come in with this new relationship. So the first thing I will say is do a little bit of I like this term, I learned from a psychotherapist called Esther Perel that she talks about create a relational resume. Learn about your past, learn how some of that background affects your current relationships and your future relationships. That would be the first thing. The second thing that is, again, a little bit of a little self-assessment is our relationship with money. I do an exercise, Bill, where I ask nonprofits, okay, how do you feel when you think about $1? How do you feel when you think about 100, a million, a billion, a rich person, a poor person, a wealthy person, right? Oh my God, Bill, if you were to hear the answers, right? So like they get overwhelmed. And so there's a fear also with money. And so I always ask the nonprofits, how will you come into a new relationship with a future donor when you already feel that, oh, I don't know if I really want to engage with wealthy people or rich people, and when you feel uncomfortable about asking for a big amount of money? Once you understand that that's where you are as a fundraiser and where we want to, once we identify that, then we say, all right, let's remove those barriers that are really affecting us from, and that will be the second step, really get to know your donors. So once we do a self-assessment, then I will say the second step will be build a relationship with, get to know your donors, really understand their needs, their passions, their philanthropic interests. Then the third step I would say is share your story. Tell them a little bit about what are you going for, what is the mission of your organization, why you are passionate about the mission, not only the mission, but why this matters to you. Then I will say, remember that this is a two-way communication. So please listen to your donors as well, get to know them. And I know that I mentioned that as the first thing, but let's put an emphasis on the listening, right? Listening to them. Then personalize the experience. I always talk about, and I share this in a way that I've been married with my husband for 20 years. We've been together. We started very, very young. And one of the things that I always say to fundraisers is that you don't ask to get married to someone the first day you meet them. Like, you don't do that, right? You have to build that relationship. And excuse me. Once you get married, doesn't mean that you forget about them, right? That means that you have to continue stewarding and feeling that relationship with beautiful things, so then that you can stay strong, long-term relationship and together. And so I would say definitely personalize things for your donors. Don't think that everyone wants the same thing or everyone likes the same thing. And also remember that as time goes by, I used to like very beautiful, bright flowers right when we started dating. At this time, 20 years later, I only like very specific roses, right? So seasons always also lead to changes. So as we build those relationships with our donors, keep in mind that things can change too, right? And so gathering all of that and storing well the relationship will lead to great causes and great things with your donors.
So 5 wonderful words of wisdom and advice there from Angelica Suarez. One, first of all, know yourself. That's self-awareness. How do I view myself? And how do I view myself in relationship with others? Second of all, is part of that awareness how I view money and wealth, and perhaps people who have prospered and have more money, more wealth than I'm accustomed to. And now I'm engaging with them about making a charitable donation. Third, sharing our passion for the nonprofit organization. And fourth, listening and active listening and responsive conversation to get to know the donor better. And in all the appropriate ways possible, personalize that experience for the donor, connecting their philanthropic values, their philanthropic motivations with the public service mission of the nonprofit organization. And Helk, I'd like to ask you, so a nonprofit fundraiser is going to work through all of that. And then they say, yes, but you don't know my CEO. And my CEO is saying more meetings, more gifts, keep it moving. Don't go back and take all of the time to get to know the donor even better and personalize the experience. What advice do you have for fundraisers when they're feeling that pressure from the people who they report to just, big return on investment, get a lot of gifts, do so quickly? How can a fundraiser navigate that type of environment?
Oh, that's an excellent question, Bill. And it's something that many times I had to struggle and chat and really try to figure out. I will confess that there was a situation where, yes, I needed to have a specific number, that it was more about the quantity versus the quality. And so for myself, I specifically is, what do I honor the most? And I know that for me, Angelica speaking, I know that a healthy balance between having that quality relationship with your donors as well as being able to meet some of those goals is essential for the success of the work that you're trying to do. But if it's all about quantity and ignoring the quality of those relationships, I will definitely say, is this something that is challenging your core values as a fundraiser? So yeah, I think that's how I will typically tackle that for me.
Angelica, as we teach for the fundraising school, we teach about stewardship. And our explanation of stewardship is staying in touch with our donors in ways that don't always involve asking them for the next gift. And so when we think about the active listening and responsive conversation, personalizing with the donor, can you talk about just the wide range of ways fundraisers can do that? Because they might think, oh, I always need to take the donor to the sporting event, to the golf course, to the fancy lunch. But aren't there also kind of simpler, smaller ways to just let donors know that they're still top of mind, that we value them for who they are as people, and it doesn't always have to be a big, spectacular meeting or get together to maintain that healthy relationship?
Absolutely, yes. So one of the things that I like to do as a fundraiser is also to be a donor, right? To even get to learn, even know what it means to be a donor. So I will share with you one little thing that I thought it was very sweet. So we talk about how this is a two-way communication, right? And so it's important to listen to your donors. So Bill, I will always talk to this specific donor about my love for elephants. And here in the background, I have a little elephant. So this donor specifically went to Kenya. It's a project that they have helping orphans in Kenya. And she brought me this little elephant, right? And for me as a donor, I felt very heard and seen because this is not a major thing. This is a small, tiny reflection of you're listening to me and you understand what matters to me. And so this had nothing to do with a specific mission, but it was very, very well connected with, I know you, I see you, and I know what matters to you. So helping our donors, I know that this was not, okay, I gave you this elephant, please donate tomorrow to the cause again, right? That was not the intent, but the intent was very genuine of, I care for you and I see you and I value your contribution and your support to our cause. So I would say to all the fundraisers, please, please, please listen carefully to the heart, the desires of your donors, and make those little special connections that make them feel seen and valued beyond a transaction or a check that they write to you. They matter as humans too. So yeah.
Angelica Suarez is Senior Advisor for Resilia, building the capacity of nonprofit organizations as we discuss relationship-based fundraising, which is the heart of our work as fundraisers and consistent throughout the curriculum of the fundraising school. 24 public courses in all, leading to 4 different certificates. We are in person in 10 United States cities, and of course, online, either live in a virtual setting or recorded, so-called asynchronous. And of course, online, we're available anywhere across the world. We have custom training where we can bring one of those courses directly just to your nonprofit, or we can take pieces of courses and knit them together, tailor-made just for your unique needs. Again, in person and online. We have our quarterly webinars and of course, these weekly podcasts. All of our wisdom is gathered in our textbook, Achieving Excellence in Fundraising, now out in the 5th edition. We have a new website, by the way. It is go.iu.edu/TFRS for the fundraising school. go.iu.edu/TFRS. I'm grateful for our guest today, Angelica Suarez, in a podcast produced by Mike Anthony and Jennifer Boffman. I'm Bill Stanczykiewicz, and now you are more fully informed on this first day from the fundraising school.